What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to another Daily Drop here on TarHeelIllustrated.com. I'm THI publisher Andrew Jones, and the topic today, it's going to be this way for a while because we're going to cram a ton of content in for you leading up to North Carolina's season opener at Minnesota Thursday night, Minneapolis, Huntington Bank Stadium. I will be there. Looking forward to covering my first game of any kind in the state of Minnesota. So that'll be nice. Get to check that off the coverage list. And I'm looking forward to it because it's the biggest game in college football that night. If you look at the rest of the schedule, not a lot of great stuff. This game is going to get a lot of eyeballs. It's Fox Sports, it's Fox TV, not Fox Sports. It's Network Fox. It's prime time. It's ACC versus Big Ten, a quality opponent on the road. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I am looking forward to it. And I also think that this is the kind of game that, while it's not a conference game, could give us a lot of insight into what kind of Carolina team we might see moving forward. And the question today is very simple. Is UNC a legitimate sleeper in the ACC? Again, the Minnesota game's not a conference game. It doesn't matter. We'll have no bearing on the conference race. But we're going to get a healthy look at the Tar Heels. So we could come back and ask the question again after that and see what people say. Maybe the answers will be different. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through some of the other teams that could be sleepers as well and kind of figure out where Carolina fits in with this, because I think there's a chance. But let's see. And when I say sleeper, I'm talking about like Louisville last year. Louisville benefited from having a schedule that wasn't that daunting, and the Cardinals took care of business. They got into the ACC championship game. For North Carolina, not a daunting schedule. But what do the other schedules look like for other teams that might be considered potential sleepers in the conference? Let's start with Georgia Tech. I think Georgia Tech may have a pretty solid team. In fact, today is Saturday, so the Yellow Jackets, maybe while you're listening to this or watching this, they're taking on Florida State in Ireland. I have no idea what the outcome is because I'm recording this before the game, obviously. But even if the Yellow Jackets don't fare well, they still have enough parts, and the program trajectory is going in a direction, in a manner that tells you they'll recover from maybe a not so great performance and have opportunities to be a thorn in a lot of people's side and win some games. But they do have a very difficult schedule. So in the ACC, they do have a tough slate because not only do they open up against FSU on a neutral field, they also have road games in September at Syracuse and Louisville. And I think Syracuse is going to be pretty solid. They've got some nice parts up there. They did well in the portal. Louisville on the road is not going to be easy. So we may know whether or not Georgia Tech is going to be in this thing by the end of September. Cal, don't laugh. Justin Wilcox is kind of on the fringe and maybe being on the warm seat. This might be a fork in the road season for him and his time in Berkeley, but they're not horrible. They're not. Remember, his first game as a head coach was a win in Kenan Stadium in 2017. The next year, Carolina went to Berkeley, and Justin Wilcox beat the Tar Heels again that year in the first game of year number 2 of his regime. He's still there, and he's done okay. It's a tough job, but they've had some more money for NIL. They've done a decent job bringing in some players. And if you look at their schedule this year, aside from the fact that they're going to travel more miles, air miles, than any other team in college football, it's crazy what their schedule looks like. That ultimately might contribute to doing them in because they go to FSU, which is obviously right now the team most people think will win the ACC. They also go to SMU, which is a potential contender. They're on this list. And they have home games against State and Miami. But think about it. I'm not 100% sold yet on SMU. So if SMU is kind of wobbling around a little bit, and they go ahead and lose at FSU, but they beat SMU on the road, and then they get State and Miami at home, they have got to make the long trips to go out there. Who knows what the environment will be like? They may have to generate their own energy. And those are opportunities for Cal. Those are the toughest league games. So there is a roadmap if Cal's a little bit better than last year, where the Bears could just win, barely win. Next thing you know, they're in the conversation when November comes. It's possible. Louisville again. Last year, the Cardinals had a schedule that was tailor-made for a decent team to take advantage, and they did that. So what are their toughest games this year? Miami and SMU are at home. They go to BC and Clemson. Those are their two toughest road games. Miami's Miami. We have no idea what to expect. It would be classic Miami to go to Louisville and lose. SMU at Louisville, I would favor Louisville right now. Louisville at BC, I think BC's a club that might be a lot better than people think right now, but good enough to win that game? Maybe, maybe not. At Clemson, tough game, but again, what's Clemson's offense like? What's the quarterback situation like? That if the Tigers aren't super potent, they can be upset. So Miami's on the list. SMU is also on the list. They got Florida State at home. It's going to be the biggest thing to ever happen on that campus, basically. They go to Louisville and they go to Duke. That's it. Those are the toughest games. That's doable. If Preston Stone is as good as everyone says he is, and SMU is a legitimate contender or a legitimate threat in the ACC, that's a very doable schedule. So maybe SMU is a legit sleeper. Syracuse, I mentioned them a few minutes ago. I kind of like what's going on up there. They don't play FSU. They don't play Clemson. They get Virginia Tech and Miami at home, and they go to NC State. So you could be a sleeper and lose a game. You can lose 2 games in this league. So let's say they lose to NC State. They don't have to deal with FSU, don't have to deal with Clemson, and Virginia Tech and Miami go into their place. Those 2 programs haven't won big road games in a while. So Syracuse is in play, and that brings me to the Tar Heels. The Tar Heels do not play Miami. The Tar Heels do not play SMU. The Tar Heels do not play Clemson. And the Tar Heels do not play Virginia Tech. They get NC State at home, and they got to go to Miami. They got to go to FSU. Now, there are obviously other bumpy situations, and this program has shown that it has a penchant for not showing up sometimes. Losing games they got no business losing. So you could say, boy, they go to Duke, see them losing that one. Go to UVA. They lost to them at home last year. Maybe they could lose there this year. They've lost 3 in a row to Georgia Tech. Who's to say the Yellow Jackets don't beat them a 4th straight time? This year the game is in Chapel Hill. Georgia Tech could be pretty decent, like I was saying. But when you look at being a sleeper, that means you figure you take care of those games. So these are the thumbnail games. State at home, FSU on the road. That's it. Like I said, no Miami, no SMU, no Clemson, no Virginia Tech. Now, when you look at those schedules, I think it's pretty favorable for the Tar Heels if the offensive line is what Max says it is. If the defensive line has made a 15% or more improvement over last year with Ted Monachino coaching them in the trenches. If the quarterback situation is above average and consistent and they don't turn the ball over. If Omarion stays healthy, if receivers stay healthy, and they don't lose a lot of guys in the secondary, they can be that team. They could be a pretty good team and win a lot of games. It's very possible because of the way this schedule works out. But remember, the back end of the schedule is probably the toughest part. So we could have a replay of the last couple of years, but we'll deal with that in another Daily Drop. I'd like to know what you guys think. When you look at these schedules, like I just noted, do you think that Carolina legitimately could be a sleeper in the ACC? Yes or no, and tell me why. You can do it on Facebook. You can do it on our message boards. You can do it on Twitter. You can send me an email. You can do whatever. Some of you even know my phone number. You text me. Whatever. That's fine. Just reach out. Let me know what you guys think. And also make sure you subscribe to this channel. Hit the notification bell so you get updates every time we upload, and tell all your Carolina friends that we're here. And if you happen to miss out on our special this week, $3.30 a month for a 1-year subscription, you could still sign up for $8.33 a month for a 1-year subscription. It's just $5 more. Not that much. $8.33 a month. This is a great time to be on, guys, because we've got a ton of basketball official visits coming up. No one will have that covered better than David Siss. A lot of football visits coming up, and of course, all the insight that we bring you at TarHeelIllustrated.com. And don't forget, we go where the Tar Heels go. I'm AJ, and I appreciate you stopping by.